The Maple Leafs come from behind to beat the Jets, and now they got the Wilds. And Adnan Virk will join us to tee that one up. You're listening to the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Locked On Leafs podcast, a daily Maple Leaf-centric podcast hosted by myself, Mike DiStefano, and my co-host, Dave Morassutti. We've got brand new episodes coming out each and every weekday, Monday through Friday, free wherever you find a podcast. You can also find us and subscribe to the show on YouTube as well. Today's episode is brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. FanDuel, the wild card round is here, and FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. So visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day. It's happening, Dave. Big weekend in the NFL, but also big weekend for the Maple Leafs. I don't know if that Maple Leaf win made, Bills fans feel any better about their Saturday night, but maybe not. But at least the Leafs were able to come from behind and finish the job in overtime, unlike the Buffalo Bills, which does break my heart a little bit. But hey, nice win for the Maple Leafs, and hell of a way to get it done too. Matthews to Domi. Domi gets a little bit of lift on it. Really quality play and a quality win for the Leafs.
Not going to lie, I was a little concerned when I saw Domi being trotted out there in overtime.
Especially when the puck was coming the other way. I'm like, what are you doing? Yeah. Winnipeg has possession. Why are you putting him out on a defensive zone? Like, what are you doing? But that's why Craig Berube is behind the bench and I'm behind a camera. He clearly knows a little more than us.
Yep. It worked out quite well. I just, that game, it's just one of those like injected into your veins because just the atmosphere in Winnipeg was off the charts. All the players, I mean, you saw Auston Matthews, right? Just asking the Winnipeg, sorry, can't hear you very well. I'm gonna have to speak up over on top of the Leafs fans that are also cheering for me over here. Like the atmosphere was great. Winnipeg was, I mean, granted, they're a better team than when the last time they saw the Leafs, especially with Connor Hellebuyck back in net. That was like he kept them in that game and kept them as far much into that game as he could until overtime. But yeah, I thought the Leafs had a pretty good road effort to kind of close out this road trip. I thought it was a nice rebound, and I see that OEL continues to be one of the better defensemen in overtime for this team. 6-0, or he's on for 6 goals for, 0 against when he's out there for overtime. So he seems to be their magic weapon in overtime.
Yeah, big game for OEL. Thought he played very well, but the Leafs, not the greatest first period, but man, did they ever come on in the second and then really controlled things in the third, completed the comeback, and then got it done in overtime. All right, so the Maple Leafs back in action tonight after that road trip, and they'll be taking on the Minnesota Wild. And on the other side, Dave, we'll be joined by Prime Hockey host Adnan Virk. The game's on Prime tonight. You can watch it on another Monday night performance. Leafs usually pretty good on Monday nights, so Adnan Virk will join the show next here in the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. The wild card round is here, and FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. Every game day during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action. Right now, every NFL playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost pack waiting for them inside the app. Each game day, you'll see a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts that you can apply to bets you like most. Open your profit boost pack first thing on game day and see what boosts you want to apply. The boost lets you lean into your game day instincts, whether you're back of momentum, defense, quarterback play, or coaching. The boosts give you more juice on the bets you already like instead of forcing you to bet something new. Every play feels bigger, and the boosts make your bets feel that way too. To make your playoff picks, apply your profit boost to go after even bigger payouts while the playoffs still roll on. So visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day. Joining us now on the Locked On Leafs podcast, it is Adnan Virk of NHL Network, host of Prime Monday Night Hockey. And we got the Maple Leafs and Wild going toe-to-toe tonight on Prime Hockey, and Adnan Virk running the whole show here. Should be a really fun game. I mean, you got two teams who are expected to do some big things this year. Should be a really fun game tonight.
Yeah, I can't wait. Mike David, always a home game for me. I was born in Toronto, downtown St. Mike's. Obviously, grew up in Kingston. And then I came back to Ryerson, now TMU, which still takes a while to get used to saying. But it's always fun to come back home. We know Leaf games are always going to be impactful. And, you know, at the start of the season, I would always circle the Leaf games on the calendar. It means I get to come home, see my parents, see my cousins, see my family and friends, but also see what's going to be a great hockey game. And once Quinn Hughes was acquired by the Wild, I said, oh, man, January 19th, this is going to be fun. I'm a little disappointed Matt Boldy's hurt. He's been so great for them. Would have liked to be able to watch him play. Joel Eriksson-Ek is also out. He's been really important for Minnesota. But Kirill Kaprizov's a ton of fun. Like I said, Hughes is transcendent, and the Leafs have obviously been on a heater. Most importantly, people ask me, who you root for. I go, listen, I don't root for anybody. I just want a good game. But if you really push me, I'd like to see the home team win. I'd like to see Canadian teams win. So it's good that Leafs are playing good hockey right now. Even in Jersey, I'm never that far away from all the good vibes, the bad vibes around the Maple Leafs. I'm well aware of all the criticism that was engulfing the team. Felt like a month ago, fire chief, Matthews stinks, blah, blah, blah. All of a sudden they go on a 10-game point streak. Matthews is heating up again. Willie Nylander, unfortunately, probably not going to play, but obviously he's been better for them. Yeah. Hopefully we'll get Anthony Stollart's back. I haven't heard the latest update, but hopefully he's playing tomorrow night. I know Wolves been really good recently. So Leafs are playing well. Minnesota's a good team. Should be a fun time at Scotiabank.
It must also feel interesting. Like, you probably want the home team to win because you have all the fans watching you guys hosting your shows right in the concourse there. And I doubt a rowdy or feisty crowd is exactly a recipe for success when you guys are in the arena there.
100%, David. As I always tell people, I don't get paid by the ratings point. I have no idea. I'm well aware the Leaf games rate the best on Amazon Prime. That obviously makes sense. But you're right. I just care about the in-arena experience. So if I'm in Ottawa at the Canadian Tire Center and the Senators are losing 4-1 after 20, I'm like, this is not good. We're not going to have a good crowd behind us. If the Leafs are playing, it's going to be a good crowd no matter what. If it's a good game tomorrow night, the crowd's even better. The best crowds we've had, no coincidence. I think one of the first games we did was last year. Matt Sundin there on set. Crowd was electric. I'm with Mark Messier, 6-time Stanley Cup champion. The crowd's going nuts. It was awesome. Even this year, Paul Bissonnette, Biznassi, obviously is hugely popular. He makes it very open. Speaking of not being subjective, most broadcasters don't like to give their loyalties. Biz is very clearly a Leafs fan. Like, literally, the analyst is I'm here to cheer on the Leafs. He must be wearing a Leafs jacket. I'm like, okay, he's like getting the fans to chant, go Leafs, go. And that was a great game. The Leafs were down, actually ended up winning. So, yeah, it's just good to have a good crowd around you. And in Toronto, it's always good. I will be honest, it's interesting memories because years ago, before I got the job at ESPN, my last job was at MLSE, and it was working Leaf games and Raptor games. And, of course, my friend Andy Petrillo, who does reporting for us, it was me and Andy splitting the assignment. And what I always remember is we used to call the show Gate 5 Live on Leafs TV, but it was so bloody cold because every time the door would open, you just get blasted with, Arctic air. So the big thing tomorrow night, quite frankly, is I'm hoping I wear my thickest suit, a 3-piece, maybe a parka, because every time that door opens, you're going to see a chill in the air for me and Tyson Nash and Blake Bolden. But as long as it's good news, the fans show up early, it'll be fun.
Yeah, I heard a rumor that when I guess it would have been the COVID year when there was no fans in the stands because they had to do it through the summer, they had to jack up the temperature inside that building. Yeah. And they haven't changed it since. So I guess since like the lockout or the Canadian division year where there's no fans, it's just been an absolute Arctic freeze inside that building. It's been so cold for the last 5 years.
It's a great point, Mike. Everywhere I go, especially these months, it's cold, and generally I'm in Canada, and sometimes the experience is better because you're close to the rink. In Ottawa, we have a great setup. We're literally like in a suite, and so I got my earpieces and I can hear John Forrest and the guys talking, but I'm watching the game like I'm like sitting in the 100s. Like, it's imagine you get to go to a hockey game and listen to your favorite broadcasters. It's great. Now in Toronto, it's not as good because basically I'm just watching a monitor. So I'm just like you guys, watching TV while in an arena. Like imagine going to a bar and you're watching the game. So like I'm not really feeling the vibe of the fans, even though I'm in the arena, which is a weird thing to say. But you're right. It's frigid at times. I remember being in Ottawa, being like, I'm going to get sick. I should have brought my jacket. I'm just wearing a suit. Just, teeth are chattering. It sounds lame, but they give us those hot pockets. The coldest I've ever been was in Canada at the Vanier Cup, Regina, Saskatoon, when I worked for the Score, and I did sidelines. McAuliffe is up in the booth, nice and warm. Dwayne Ford, Sarah Orlesky had like a nice big furnace, and it was me. I can't remember the other reporter. It might have been Medani, might have been Deb Matichka, but we are so cold, minus 30 Celsius, and they give us those hot pockets. You're Canadian when you know what hot pockets are. You shake those things, you squeeze it in your hand. It helps a little bit. It can only help so much.
It does.
Might have some hot pockets with me tomorrow night.
Yeah, I mean, you might want to load up on those bad boys. It's cold, and apparently there's even more snow coming to Toronto the next little bit. But the team's red hot, as you mentioned, with Adnan Virk, host of Prime Hockey. I mean, since Christmas, they've been one of the hottest teams in the NHL. Now, the whole Atlantic seems to be just as hot as them, so not gaining as much ground in the division as one would hope. But 8-1-3, Auston Matthews is kind of back to being his Auston Matthews MVP level self. Like, what do you make of the turnaround here from the Buds since Christmas?
Well, one thing I like about being back in Canada is normally I'll make jokes because I'm with a lot of Canadians working at NHL Network, but it's only available in America. So I'm with Kevin Weeks, who's from Scarborough, or Mike Johnson, who grew up young in Eglinton. And my joke about the Eastern Conference is it's like the congestion on the Don Valley Parkway at 4 o'clock on a Friday. And of course, they'll laugh heartily, and the producers have no idea what I'm talking about. I'm like, well, that's clearly a Toronto joke just for all of us who get the joke. But yeah, like it's tight. Like the good news is you can go 3-0-1 and be like, oh my God, Leafs are winning the cup, plan the parade on Yonge Street. But you can go 0-3-1 and go, oh my God, I don't know if they're going to do it. Steve Cooley is my old buddy from the Score, who I had on the other day on NHL Network. He works obviously on NHL Network Radio. I said, what do you think the odds are the Leafs make the playoffs? And he goes, I think it's 50-50. I go, really? I go, they just had this great run, 10 straight games to the point. He goes, but that's how tight it is. Like, if you look at the top to bottom in the East, I think it's separated by 12 points. Like, I've never seen it so close. So it's incredibly frustrating to say, we've had this great run, good news, but you're barely in a playoff spot. If you go in an 0-3-1 run, now you're out of it again. And, of course, the compressed schedule is so critical. It's a fight to get to February 5th, quite frankly. The next 3 weeks, just get as many points as you can. Then we get a month off, basically, because the Olympics. Players are either going to relax or they're going to keep playing hockey, the Connor McDavids, the Auston Matthews, etc., playing in Italy, and then come back and finish the season strong, and good luck in the playoffs. So I think for Toronto, my buddy Jason DeMers, we do a podcast together on NHL Unscripted, he calls it loser points, which is a reference to losing the game in overtime where you still get 1 point, right? Goes to shoot, you still get 1 point. Even if you lose the game, get the loser point, play tight, and if you get enough of those, in addition to actual wins, you'll be in the playoffs. So I think it's a fairly straightforward recipe for success. Sometimes people overanalyze these things, like what's different about the Leafs? I'm like, real simple. Matthews is on fire. He's your best player, and he's playing great again, right? Nylander's been really good. The goaltending has improved substantially. Whether it was Hildeby or Wool, those guys held the fort. I think they got healthier as well. Secondary scoring is important. Obviously, you need Knies and Tavares and these other guys to contribute, but this is a team built on their horses, built on their stars. And I know they lost that game against Vegas, but that was an exciting, high-scoring game, 6-5, obviously. I think Marner's return this Friday is going to be electric. You'll see the crowd really into that. He's sixth all-time in the Leafs when it comes to points. But look at how the narrative's changed. If I asked you a month ago, you go, oh, my God, I can't believe the Leafs let Mitch Marner go. He's had a good season. He's not a great season. He's not going to be a 100-point guy with Vegas, but he's filled in a role for a playoff team, and the Leafs missed him. Now you're like, you know what? He's getting $96 million. The Leafs are doing okay. It is what it is. Should be a fun atmosphere next Friday.
Well, just jumping off the Mitch Marner point there, Adnan, it is interesting because, he just rolled, or I guess the Leafs rolled through town in Vegas. We just got to see him, up close and personal, and, allowed the feelings to come back, and you start to think, how the season went. And with the way that the Maple Leafs have been playing recently, you look at their struggles from earlier in the season, like how much of that do you think really just had to do with Toronto needing to learn how to play without Mitch Marner? And maybe it took a lot longer than people thought. And that's why the early season woes, was so bad.
I think it's a big part of it, Mike. I think in any sport, if LeBron, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh are in Miami together, you have three superstars. And one goes, all of a sudden it's different to find your role naturally. I think you see that in baseball sometimes. The Jays are going to have that. No more Bo Bichette. This guy was a stud for the Blue Jays for a long time. Vladdy and him were the faces of the team. It's going to take a bit of transition now, having Okamoto at third base and not having Bo Bichette as your shortstop. So similarly in hockey, when you have great chemistry with these guys, it does take time. And, I think people don't underestimate that sometimes. And Craig Berube's a different coach too. Now, I love Chief. Obviously, he was known as an enforcer all that time. I loved him on the Flyers, big, tough guy. But he wants these guys to play a certain way. And I thought that press conference was pretty illuminating when they asked him about the Leafs. He goes, why don't you ask them? People took that as him throwing the team under the bus. I'm like, no, I think that's an honest answer. Sometimes your kid screws up and you go, what was he thinking? I don't know, ask him. I told him what to do, then he didn't do it. So it's on him. So I kind of like the Chief was like, hey, these guys are grown-ups, man. I tell them what to do. I coach them how to coach. If they don't follow the plan, I don't know, ask him. So I was amused by it, to be honest with you. I think he's a tough, hard-nosed coach and wants to play a certain system. I do think Tanev being out hurts them a lot too. I will say, when I look at their defense, I'm like, I think he was such a key piece for them. Him being out hurts. I know the other guys have stepped up, Ekman Larson, etc. But yeah, I do think when Marner's gone, this guy was an integral part of your team. He was sixth all time in scoring by a Leaf. You can't just expect 2 months and all of a sudden the team can figure it out. So your Matthias Pacellis, your Easton Cowans, those guys are finding their roles and trying to figure it out.
Who's impressed you though? Outside of the star players on this team, who's someone that when you look at this Leafs team, you think, oh, he's kind of a little better than I expected?
It's interesting. I think that Cowan's probably a guy that I was like, you know what? I knew that there was a lot of hype around him, but I can see flashes of what he's able to do. But I'd probably say Matthew Knies. I think Knies is one of those guys. If you'd asked me a while ago, I'm like, well, he's a complimentary piece. He's a good player on a really good team. He could be a decent player on a bad team. But I actually think he's got more productivity than people realize. And I think he's got a certain nose for the net and a knack for playing the right way and can kind of fit with Chiefs' system better. And Matthew Knies is a guy that, because again, I look at the Stars and always say the Stars have to step up. You're not going to win unless your star players play better, but you got to have secondary scoring. I look at the Jets specifically. I've done a bunch of Jets games this year. I wouldn't wish going to Manitoba on anybody more than once a year. No offense to the fine people of Winnipeg. But I go there and I'm like, it's Scheifele, Connor, Velarde. Velarde's a Kingston guy like me. They got a great line. They've got Morrissey. They got Hellebuck. But when you only have one of each thing, one great line, one great defenseman, one great goalie, you're not going to win a hockey game. You have to have more parts. So to me, when I look at the Leafs, I go, hey, you need a little more Matthew Knies in your team. I also have always liked Scott Laughton. I got to be honest with you. I know he's a fourth-line player. I know he's not expected to score much, but I was at that game in Philadelphia playing his former team. Laughton scored the tying goal. He played top the hard nose. Again, you're not going to make the playoffs because of a fourth-line guy, but I do think Scott Laughton brings a lot of intangibles and a lot of what Craig Berube wants on this team.
Oh, I completely agree. I mean, watching that game over the weekend against Winnipeg, he was, really pissed off about that penalty late. Velarde kind of snaps his neck back and takes a chintzy little high stick, and Laughton took exception to it. Just that passion is something we never really saw here in Toronto. They got a lot of guys who have this kind of a calmer disposition. They take the game as it goes. I think that this team is starting to grow a bit of a backbone a little bit, and it feels like, and you're down, with the guys more. You're going to be able to go down and chat with the players. You've talked to these guys. You've done a couple of games, so far this year. It feels like Laughton is really starting to become part of the fabric of this team, and not that he's changing it single-handedly, but it's slowly changing to what seemingly Tree Living and Berube are looking to get out of this team, and he seems to be kind of at the forefront of it.
And there's another example, Mike, of a guy who's acquired the trade deadline, right? He's not a long-time Leaf. You get acquired by the team. It takes you a few weeks to get loose, to kind of get to know the team a little bit, right? Get ready. So after that, I think he's become more comfortable. He's kind of found his role. People talk about leadership and stuff. It doesn't happen right away. You got to be a part of the team first. Learn different personalities. Acclimate a little bit better. Who are you to speak up? You've only been here for a week. Okay, I've been here for a year now. I kind of know what things are. I understand the terrain. I'm a veteran player. People respect you. You're putting up good numbers. All that comes together. So good for Scott Laughton to have that kind of leadership and that kind of confidence.
When you look at, I'll bring Minnesota into this for a moment, because this is a team obviously that made the biggest splash in recent memory with the Quinn Hughes. You mentioned all the injuries that they've had. What's something that maybe people don't know about Minnesota outside of the Quinn Hughes stuff that, really makes them one of those teams that's on the rise for themselves?
Well, their goaltending is really good. It's my favorite nickname in hockey right now, Jesper Wallstedt. It's with a W, but pronounced with a V because of his his origins in Europe. But so it's Volstad, but they call him the Wall of St. Paul, which is a fantastic nickname. I hope he's playing.
I like
so I can say that tomorrow. The Wall of St. Paul, although technically it's Volstad, so it'd be the Vole of St. Paul. But I think he's fabulous. And Gustafsson, the Gus Bus, another good nickname, is their other good goaltender. So I think both those guys can be hot at times. And like Toronto should win tomorrow night. They're the better team. And as I mentioned, there's injuries right now for Minnesota, losing Baldy and Eriksson Ek, but their goaltending is pretty legit. And one thing about Billy Guerin is he's obviously running Team USA, the Olympic team, but like they've got no shortage of fight and spirit. And Minnesota this year, they've realized if you're in a division with Colorado, Colorado is the best team in hockey. You're going to have to go through them, potentially, right? All the Stars, just to get out of that division. Like, I'd love to see the league kind of reseed a little bit because those top 3 teams are arguably the top 3 teams in the Western Conference. But the Wild know that they're going to be in a fight every night, and that means that they're battle-tested for every single game. Like, there's no let-up for them. There's no trap games because they know how tough the schedule is. So I do think that as far as Minnesota is concerned, better goaltending they might not realize. Like, it's not the Connor Hellebuycks, it's not Vasilevsky, it's not Shesterkin, but Volstad and Gustafsson together have been really tremendous. And obviously well aware of what Kaprizov and, I think even Tarasenko's had a good bounce back season. He was so great for the Blues. His career faded a little bit. He's a good second line player now for this Minnesota team. So watch out for Tarasenko tomorrow night.
Yeah, it's a battle of the goalie nicknames. You got the Hildebeest and the Brick Wall. Again, the Great Vault or the Vol of St. Paul and the Gus Bus. Should be really great match. I think the total is only 5.5, so they're expecting a decent little goaltending duel in tonight's game. Again, you can watch it on Prime Hockey, hosted by today's guest Adnan Virk. Just when you take a look at this Maple Leafs team, as we talked about earlier, like they're on fire, but still just 6th in the Atlantic Division because the whole division seems to be winning hockey games. How do you think it plays out the rest of the way? Can the Leafs, work their way up to the top? Like, it's still so close. Like, how do they stack up against the rest of the division?
I think the Lightning are the best team. I think they're going to win the division, so they're not catching them. I'm worried about Florida. They've won the last 2 Stanley Cups, but on the outside looking in, at some point, Matthew Tkachuk will be back. At some point, Barkov will be back. They'll be better. Now, that's not to say it doesn't happen. A defending champion can all of a sudden flop, but I do think Florida's still in the mix. So that's where it gets really hard for Toronto because they're like, well, which team's fallen off? Like, is it going to be like the Flyers, unfortunately, have fallen off recently? They've lost 6 straight games. Okay, so now they're ahead of them. Florida hasn't been great, but Boston's been scorching. Boston's won 6 straight games. They're not going anywhere. Buffalo hasn't made the playoffs in 14 straight seasons. They're playing great hockey right now. So if your Buffalo's and your Boston's play well, and Tampa's a team, I think Montreal's legit. I think Montreal's a better team than Toronto. I was just in Montreal last week, and they got a great young core, excellent goaltending, great coach, Marty St. Louis. So that's why I think Steve Cooley is right. It's 50-50 if the Leafs make the playoffs. It's going to be a challenge because of the fact they dug themselves a hole early.
So do you expect them to be aggressive at the deadline to kind of fill the holes to get over that 50-50 spot? Like, the Leafs are kind of in a tricky situation, though, at this point because of how much they dug a hole early in the season.
Yeah, I don't think they will be. And for this reason, because of the parity, because there's so many teams right now that are all kind of around the same. Like, if there's a big difference between contenders and pretenders, then it's different, right? Because all of a sudden you're like, well, these teams have to sell. They're not going anywhere. But if a bunch of teams are log jamming, then they're not really inclined to sell their assets. So it's not that the Leafs don't want to make moves. I just don't know how many dance partners you can find.
Yeah,
it's very true.
Yeah.
Very few sellers, a lot of buyers, very few sellers.
This is true. So one more question unless you got something, Dave. I got a fun little question for Adnan, who I know is also.
I'm worried whenever someone says last question, and I have a fun one. But go ahead.
No, it's a fun one because I know that you're also a wrestling guy, Dave, big wrestling guy. I'm following along, grew up, massive fan. In my heyday, and we always have this segment right before WrestleMania, typically, but we also have a segment before the Royal Rumble, and we always look at the new team and we talk about, all right, who would win a Royal Rumble of the current Maple Leafs? And for years, it was like Ryan Reeves because he was here for a couple of years. Like Ryan Reeves would throw everyone over the top, but he's gone now. Yeah. Who's the new favorite if the Maple Leafs were to have a Royal Rumble, much like the WWE will a little later this month?
I'll go with their head coach, Craig Berube. He was one of the toughest guys ever. I don't give a damn. He's in his mid-50s. That guy is 8th all-time in penalty minutes, and when I speak to him, he still has the scars to prove it. So I think he could throw any young buck overneath the top turnbuckle. I think he could come down like demolition back in the day. I think he could pile drive like King Kong Bundy. I will not mess with Chief. I'll take Craig Berube, the coach.
That's a fun that's a fun off the board answer. That's almost like Vince McMahon winning a Royal Rumble.
Exactly.
Vince done that once.
I can verify that. Yep.
He should have done that once upon a time. I think Scott Lawton and Matty Knies are two guys I think would make it pretty late. Yeah. I think those would be two of my dudes. But Chief, I didn't think about the coach, but he could definitely last long in one of those. That's not a man I'd want to meet in a Hell in a Cell match. I can tell you that for free. And then really appreciate the time joining us. It's going to be a great game today. I'm excited. Wild and Leafs. You could watch it on Prime Hockey, hosted by today's guest, Adnan Virk. Thank you so much, and good luck on the call tonight, and enjoy the game. Hopefully it's a good one, and stay warm. Bundle up.
I appreciate it, Mike. Thank you, David. By the way, names like DiStefano and Morisuti, I swear you must have some relatives here in Vaughan and Maple, so I'll go say hi to them when you're guys have.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You got to tell them. I got a couple.
Yeah. Tell them I said ciao.
Thanks, guys. Ciao.
All right. Appreciate it. Adnan Virk, host of Prime Hockey and of the NHL Network. Beauty. What a stud.
Awesome.
Adnan Virk is an absolute stud. I had to get the wrestling question in there.
Oh,
had to get it in there.
1,000%. Oh, 1,000%. If you were going to do it, I was going to do it. I didn't think Royal Rumble, but I did think like a Battle Royal ladder match.
You get the Royal Rumble. Woyal Rumble's coming up in a week, right? So I was like, yeah, might as well, get that question out there. I never thought about Chief, but dude, that guy would go deep in a Royal Rumble.
The ref, whoever that ref was on the ice, he was planning to.
Did you see after the game? Like after the game, he was still giving it to the officials. They won, but he's still going at it. That was a terrible, BS call. Like we're talking about the Gabe Vilardi. Yeah, that late in the game, it's a tie game. Gabe Vilardi, little snap back and just barely touched his visor. I don't believe it even touched his face. I think it was just a little visor nicked there by Matthew Knies. And good on Scott Lawton, like we're talking about with Adnan Virk, and I tweeted about it too. And a lot of people, were agreed with me. The passion he showed, it's just it's something that has been missing in this Maple Leafs lineup for quite some time, right? Quite some time. And, he's starting to find a little bit of a scoring touch. You would hope he has more than, 6 goals. He gets 8 points. You'd hope he would add a little bit more offense than that. But, he's an excellent penalty killer. And the 6 goals he has have been big goals, like in big moments at big times, usually in the third period when it's close, when it's tight. He scores when it matters, it feels. And Scott Lawton's quickly becoming one of my favorite players on this team, just the way that he competes each and every night and the way he sticks up for his team and everything. I really liked, the fact that he was going after Vilardi, then going after Jonathan Toews. Really, really appreciate that type of passion from Scotty Lawton.
Yeah, not even just the passion, but like we talk so much about how the Leafs, where they fall on the penalty differential and like how little power play opportunities they really do get. And I think, holding the officials accountable, like Craig Berube will give it to the refs, right? Yeah. But the players can have the ears of the refs a lot more. And I think Scott Lawton just saying like, this is enough of this. Like, I think that's what it came down to mostly was just he was at a point where he's just like, this is ridiculous. Like this, the Leafs had to battle back a few times in this game. Granted, part of it to their own doing, right? But like they're pushing hard, they're fighting hard, and to get a chintzy call like that late in the game, and like Matthew Knies, like you see him take the penalty, and he's like, oh wait, me? Like, oh, you're calling that on me?
Really? Like you're calling that. Oh, yeah.
Ticky tack.
It was tough. It was a tough call, but they killed it off, ended up in overtime, and they get the win, which was nice. Nice little feed. Matthews over to Max Domi, and he puts it into the back of the net. Overall, I thought the Leafs actually played really well in that game against Winnipeg. They found themselves down early, but Matthews got on the board and You know, they had to claw back a couple times, but they did. They stayed in the game, and they end up victorious at the end of the day and pick up another 2 points. And they just got to continue to stack wins and pick up 2 points because, as we mentioned with Adnan, like everyone in the division is winning games. 6 of the top 9 teams since Christmas are in the Atlantic Division. Like 6 of the top 9 records in the NHL since Christmas in the Atlantic, including the number 1 team in the Tampa Bay Lightning. And the Maple Leafs are 8-1-3 in that stretch. Still not the top record in the NHL or in their division for that matter. So that's why tonight's going to be a big game as well, right? Got to continue to stack wins, stack up points, and stay in the fight, stay in the mix. Like as of now, the Maple Leafs are not in a playoff spot. They are currently on the outside looking in, despite this hot run. Just 1 point out, granted, but they do have an extra game played over the Buffalo Sabres, who are ahead of them with 57 points. They also have a game in hand on Boston, who are 2 points up on them. But it doesn't matter what the rest of the teams are doing. You just got to, if you're Toronto, continue to play the way that they have over the course of the last few weeks here, and hopefully the wins continue to kind of stack up, and they can fight themselves back into a comfortable playoff position, not this, win 1, lose 2, and all of a sudden you're out of a playoff spot, or you give up a couple of overtime losses, and those 2 points become so vital here, which they have been over the last couple of weeks. But we'll see what they can do tonight. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back. Let's tee up tonight's game: Leafs and Wild. It's an injured Wild team. We'll show you the lineups. We'll get to our players to watch and more. You're listening to the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by Indeed. If you've ever hired someone who looked good on paper but wasn't the right fit, you know how important it is. When you want candidates who truly match what you're looking for, trust Indeed sponsored jobs. Hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job posting on other sites. Indeed sponsored jobs put your post at the top of the page and help you reach the right candidates faster. Instead of struggling to get your job posting, Indeed sponsored jobs helps your listing stand out and reach quality candidates faster. Sponsored job posts boost your posts to the people who are the best match for your role, and that makes a real difference. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed are 90% more likely to report a hire than non-sponsored jobs. Spend more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with less stress, less time, and more results. Use Indeed sponsored jobs. Listeners of the show get a $75 sponsored job credit to help give your job the premium placement it deserves at Indeed.com/lockedon. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now. Support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, do it the right way with Indeed.
Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. Mike DiStefano, Dave Morisuti with you, as we are each and every weekday, Monday through Friday, with brand new episodes, free and available wherever you find your podcasts. You can also subscribe to the video format on YouTube as well. And if you never miss an episode, it's time to make it official. Join the Locked On Everydayer Club and get ad-free audio, access to our members-only Discord, and more, all built for our most loyal fans. Click the link below to learn more and join our team's community. The Maple Leafs in action tonight, taking on the Minnesota Wild, who are pretty badly injured right now. No Matt Boldy in this game. He's out with an injury. No Joel Eriksson Ek. No Jonas Brodin. Marcus Johansson is also injured. So the depth is being tested in Minnesota, that's for sure. The depth is being tested. They traded a lot of their depth, actually, to go out and get Quinn Hughes. So defensively, they're okay. They got Quinn Hughes and Brock Faber as a top pair. That's pretty solid. But up front, Dave, I'm looking at this group here, and it's their second line is Yakov Trenin, Danila Yurov, and Vladimir Tarasenko. Third line, you got a guy named Hunter Haight and Vinny Henestroza on your third line. Like Marcus Foligno's still there, but you got Ben Jones, Tyler Pitlick playing regular minutes with the Minnesota Wild. Like outside of Kaprizov, there's a big drop off with Boldy out of the lineup now, and they don't have Marco Rossi anymore as well. Like we're taking a look at the lineup here. on YouTube. And yeah, like outside of Kaprizov, like does anyone really scare you from an offensive perspective? Like is anyone screaming down the wing gonna worry you outside of that guy? Not really. So those injuries kind of speak to why the Wild have lost 3 of their last 4 games and needed overtime to win their last one against Buffalo.
Yeah, that's it, right? Like the blue line obviously is their strength. It always has been in Minnesota, but just like they would always get by with who they had up front. And so like Kaprizov obviously, last year went on that MVP run. He's still obviously among the game's best players, right? So like they I think they put so much on him to be able to kind of carry this team, and like this year especially 25 goals, 55 points in 49 games. Like it's nothing to snuff at, but it's just like that guy doesn't have that caliber to actually play with. He is missing a sidekick right now. Matt Boldy would certainly help. Joel Exton Eck would certainly help with that.
Boldy, well, when healthy, like Boldy's got like 24, 25 goals. Like when healthy, Boldy is that sidekick. The problem is he's on IR and he's not going to be there tonight. So because of the injuries after Kaprizov, like it gets bleak. And hey, Toronto's dealt with this all season long. So, this happens around the league. We focus on the Maple Leafs all the time, but other teams deal with injuries and other teams go on dry spells and, they can't get that secondary scoring and they end up losing games. That's kind of what's happened in Minnesota here. Very similar to what was happening with the Maple Leafs a little earlier in the season when Matthews was out, Knies was out, Tanev was out, McCabe spent some time off. The Leafs, they went through their little dry spell of injuries. They've been a little healthier moving forward. Doesn't sound like Nylander's going to play tonight, so that's unfortunate. He's doubtful in this game, but hey, that means that there's an opportunity for Matias Maccelli to step back up. Sounds like Matthew Knies is going to get back into a top 6 role in this game as well. So the Leafs depth has stepped up over the course of this last few weeks. I would say last 3 weeks since the Christmas coming out of the Christmas break. And well, you're going to have to continue to do that, especially with defense and goaltending as good as they have here in Minnesota. I think it's going to take, a few goals to beat this team. Or it's going to take some hard working goals to beat this team rather, because they can defend well and they can stop the puck. So it's going to take some high effort plays to score on this group.
Well, that's it, right? Like the Minnesota is going to make a very tough defense. And look, like if you look at all the metrics involving Quinn Hughes and what he brings, like he reshapes the way that team operates, and he should. He's that caliber of a player. So they're positioned and playing differently.
He's playing over 27 and a half minutes. Like he plays almost half the game. It's insane what this guy's doing this year. Well, he's done this for the last few years, really. But, the fact that they were able to just inject a Quinn Hughes into their lineup, like, how ridiculous is that? Like, we're talking about the Maple Leafs maybe making a trade to bring in Luke Shen and put Luke Shen into their lineup. Maybe Dougie.
Hold our beer. Hold our beer.
We're going to add Quinn Hughes. And, hey, credit to them, man. Like they drafted, developed well. They had some, some picks and prospects that they were able to move out and get it done. But now that the injury bug has hit, a lot of those, depth prospects like the Rossi, the Rossies of the world, and who's it, Liam Ogren, like those were part of their, depth that they had after Boldy and Kaprizov. They're not there anymore. Right, they had to move on from those guys, and then when Boldy goes down, it's like, well, now there's a bit of a drop off after those two. When it comes to skill guys, like they got like nothing in their top 6. No one in their bottom 6 rather has more than 3 goals this season. Not a single player in their bottom 6 has more than 3 goals. So if they can, the key to tonight's game, essentially, if you're Toronto, just make sure you don't let Kirill Kaprizov behind you and don't let him go beast mode, right? Don't let it be a one-man show. Just control Kaprizov, keep him to the outside. There's no one else really that would worry me from a scoring perspective. So if they can control Kaprizov, I think that the Maple Leafs can control and win this hockey game ultimately.
And we're not overstating this. Like Minnesota has had some brutal performances. They lost to both the Devils and the Jets, who are like a game away from firing their coaches.
Yeah, their last like 6 games here, like since the new year essentially, they lost to the Sharks, they lost 2 to the Kings, they won 3-2 against Seattle, needed overtime to do it, and Seattle's not that great of a team. And then they lost to the Islanders, they lost 5-2 to Jersey, 6-2 to Winnipeg, and then they needed overtime to beat Buffalo the other night in Buffalo. So they're just squeaking through wins and they're getting absolutely crushed, but they're not scoring a whole lot right now. And so for Toronto, I think it's pretty much a race to 3. If the Maple Leafs can put 3 up on the board, I really do like their chances to win this game. And they've been able to do that pretty regularly. I mean, they've scored 3 or more in 8 of the last 10 games here. So I really do think that the Maple Leafs should be able to win this game, put 2 points up on the board, and try and close that gap in the Atlantic Division, because everyone's winning games. You got to at least keep up with the Joneses. Got to walk before you run at the very least and win some games here. All right. Anything else you wanted to bring up before we get out of here?
No, I like the Winnipeg result despite the having to bounce back and having to come back in that game. I thought I just like defensively, there's still kinks to the game, but they're missing a crucial defenseman on that blue line, and they're not without Will Nylander. Like they're fighting right now quite a bit, but I like they got the resolve. Like they're not letting it put them down as much as it did earlier in the season.
All right, that'll do it for us here today on the podcast. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe to the Locked On at Leafs podcast on all platforms and receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself on Twitter at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at _Morrisuti, and follow the show as well at Locked On Leafs. We'll be back with another episode for you guys tomorrow. Enjoy the game tonight. Leafs versus Wild on Prime Hockey, hosted by today's guest. And once again, thank you to Adnan Virk for joining us on the show. We'll catch you back here tomorrow to recap it. Until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.